Holy Week in the Philippines. A time for solemn reflection, a time for family, and for us it meant a trip to my Lola's in Majayjay, Laguna. Every year we'd pile into the car, eager to escape the chaos of Manila and lose ourselves in the tranquility of the province. But our excitement was always tempered by Lola's strict decree. Never, she'd say, her voice firm, her eyes sharp, never go to the falls on Good Friday. It wasn't a request, it was a rule, ingrained in us from a young age. The falls, nestled deep in the heart of the jungle, held a different kind of energy on Good Friday. A darkness, she claimed. An opening. A time when the veil between our world and the spirit world thinned. We never questioned Lola. Not really. Her words held the weight of generations, of ancient beliefs passed down through the ages. We knew better than to tempt fate, especially on a day as sacred as Good Friday. Majayjay was a world away from Manila. The air was cooler here, cleaner. The silence, almost sacred, broken only by the rustling of leaves and the chirping of crickets. Time seemed to move slower in Majayjay. Days stretched on, languid and peaceful, a stark contrast to the frenetic pace of city life. Lola's house, a sturdy Spanish-era structure with wide verandas and Capiz shell windows, stood at the edge of town. It was our sanctuary, a place where we could reconnect with our roots, with the simple life. It was on those verandas, under the watchful gaze of our ancestors, that we listened to Lola's stories, tales of the supernatural, of creatures that lurked in the shadows, of spirits both benevolent and malevolent that roamed the earth. Good Friday in the Philippines is different. A palpable stillness hangs in the air. The world holds its breath. Even the sunlight seems muted, dimmed by the weight of the day's significance. For Filipinos, it's a day of mourning, of remembering Christ's sacrifice. But it's also a day of caution, a day when the barriers between worlds are at their weakest. Lola would often tell us about the spirits, the restless souls caught between worlds. On Good Friday, she'd explain, they could cross over more easily. They could walk among us, unseen, unheard, their presence a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a prickling at the back of your neck. It was on one such Good Friday, the air thick with the scent of incense and the murmur of prayers, that we, a group of restless teenagers, decided to tempt fate. The lure of the forbidden, the thrill of the unknown, proved too strong to resist. We were young, foolish. We whispered amongst ourselves, our words a cocktail of excitement and trepidation. We told ourselves Lola was just being superstitious, that there was no harm in a little adventure, and so, under the cloak of the Good Friday afternoon, we slipped away. The air grew heavy as we ventured deeper into the jungle. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy. The path, slick with moisture, wound its way through towering trees and tangled undergrowth. The silence, once peaceful, now felt oppressive, broken only by the sound of our own footsteps and the frantic beating of our hearts. The falls were even more spectacular than we had imagined. Water cascaded down moss-covered rocks, creating a fine mist that hung in the air. The beauty of the place was undeniable, but it was a beauty tinged with an unsettling energy. We were intruders in a sacred space. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and something else, something metallic, like blood. We pushed on, our laughter echoing through the trees, but the laughter died in our throats as quickly as it had begun. From somewhere deep within the jungle, a different sound reached our ears. A low, guttural laughter devoid of humor that sent shivers down our spines. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, my voice barely a croak. My cousin Jolo, the bravest of our group, tried to laugh it off. "It's probably just some monkeys," he said, his voice lacking its usual confidence. But even as he spoke, I saw a flicker of doubt in his eyes. And then we saw it. A figure, tall and gaunt, its features obscured by the shadows. It stood at the edge of the clearing, watching us. Its eyes, two glowing embers in the gloom, seemed to bore into our very souls. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. One look at the terror in each other's eyes was enough. We turned and ran, our fear lending speed to our steps. The path, which had seemed so familiar on the way in, now appeared to twist and turn on itself, leading us in circles. Panic clawed at our throats. We were lost, hunted. The jungle, once beautiful, now felt menacing, the trees reaching out towards us with gnarled, skeletal fingers. The air grew colder, the sunlight fading as if the jungle itself was closing in around us. "Jolo!" I screamed, my voice raw with terror as I realized my cousin was no longer behind me. "Jolo, where are you?" But there was no answer, only the echo of my own voice swallowed up by the oppressive silence of the jungle. We searched for what felt like hours. Our calls for Jolo met with an eerie silence. The jungle had gone deathly quiet, the air thick with a sense of dread. The sun began to set, casting long, menacing shadows across the forest floor. We were losing hope, losing our friend. Exhausted and terrified, we stumbled out of the jungle and back to Lola's house. Her face, usually etched with warmth and kindness, was now a mask of grim understanding. She had always known. A search party was assembled, but it wasn't until the next morning that they found Jolo, or rather, what was left of him. His body was discovered at the foot of the falls, his eyes wide with terror, his face contorted in a silent scream. Lola said he looked like he had seen something that had stolen his soul. The events of that Good Friday shook us to our core. It was a harsh lesson, etched in the language of fear and loss. We had disregarded Lola's warnings, dismissed her beliefs as mere superstition, and we had paid a terrible price. Jolo's death was a stark reminder that there are forces beyond our understanding, forces that we tamper with at our peril. It taught us the importance of respecting traditions, of heeding the wisdom of our elders. Lola never spoke about what happened that day. She didn't need to. Her silence spoke volumes. It was a silence heavy with grief, but also with understanding. She knew that we had learned our lesson. We had seen the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of our world, and we would never be the same.